Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So Mid-Michigan recently launched the Be Our Neighbor campaign in an effort to drive inbound population growth and accelerate talent development. Here to share the purpose and importance is the founder and executive director of Lansing 501, Chris Sell, the founder and CEO of 100 Place Consulting, Samanth Harkins, and the principal and creative director of Redhead Creative Consultancy, Jennifer Estill. Welcome to the show, Chris, Samantha, and Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. So we teased about this a couple of months ago, but now it's live, and it's actually kind of launching as we speak. So I'm really excited to unpack this and hear a little bit about how it all kind of came together. So Chris, before we get too deep into this, I want to have you give a little shout out to Lansing 501 and the origins and what was it initially set up to do and how has it evolved to today?
Yeah, absolutely. Started out as an idea in 2015. And with this premise that there was a really compelling story to share about the Lansing community and the region that wasn't getting heard by the people who would be the future of our community. And so that's, college age students and interns and young professionals and mid-career professionals, former Lansing natives. And so we put together a pilot summer series of programming specifically for college interns who are here in the summer. Everyone thinks that this community goes quiet because MSU students oftentimes go back to where they're from or they go to summer internships, but we also welcome thousands upon thousands of young emerging leaders back to the area during the summer. And so we kicked off a summer event series with a concert along the riverfront, which 10 years later is still going strong in a different iteration, which we can talk about later perhaps. But we were able to welcome nearly 500 college interns representing 45 different college universities across the country that first summer. And we did it through corporate support. And so our employer partners reconvened at the end of the summer and we asked, did this help address part of the issue, which was you're giving them a great internship, but we also want to help you provide them a great experience in our community for the summer. Because yes, some of them grew up in Williamson like I did. Yep. They grew up down the road, but some of them are from West Virginia. Some of them are from northern Michigan. Some of them are from the Detroit area. And believe it or not, they don't know anything about this community, this zip code. And so we wanted to roll out the red carpet and intentionally showcase the amenities and the cultural parts of our community that really matter to young people when they're making decisions about where they want to plant roots and live and work full time. And so all the employer partners saw value in it and so wanted to continue to see it happen. And nearly a decade later, here we are. And so over that 9+ years of time, we have welcomed, I think, nearly 40,000 people to this community cumulatively across that decade of time through place-based programming, unique large summer festivals, the Grand River Connection Young Professionals monthly networking series that we kind of took the baton a couple years ago and have been executing that every month as another welcoming place for young people to connect and meet new friends and connect with our community. And so it's part of this larger challenge of how do we grow the community's population and how do we make this not make this necessarily, but help showcase the cool place that we have here in the Lansing region to young people who are still making those decisions about where they want to live and work full time.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, it really started out as, 4 or 5 summer placemaking, get all these people that are here in Lansing together, because if you put them all together for a party, they're going to have a better impression and more likely are they to maybe take the job that's offered to them at the end of their internship. If they had a good experience in Lansing and meet other people who maybe are considering staying here too and get an apartment together and make it happen. And now you're kind of a lightning rod, right? I mean, Lansing's 501's website is becoming a real place to go. Can you talk a little bit about what type of content you have on your website? Because it's a lot more than we're going to have 4 parties over a summer when you're here as an intern. It is now, all kinds of stuff in there.
Absolutely. So I'll try to do this succinctly, but along the way, in addition to some of those unique events or programs or festivals, we kept thinking about place-driven marketing material, right? That would help showcase our community story. So we did something called the Lansing 501 Guide, which was like a photography-driven, almost like welcome guide or welcome book that you could have on a coffee table, and it just showcased some of the coolest cultural destinations and restaurants and entertainment parts of this community. That went really well, but it was also very expensive. So we did it a couple times and then we pressed pause. And then a newer iteration of that, we did a coloring book We partnered with a local illustrator to create a coloring book that was free to the community during the onset of the COVID pandemic, because for a lean nonprofit that was used to doing large scale events, all of a sudden we were kind of put on pause for a little while during the pandemic. And so we thought, how can we continue to fulfill our mission despite people not being able to gather in person? And so, we created a coloring book that had images of the dairy store and Beaumont Tower, but also Horrocks and Frandor, and like some of the things that are so unique to Lansing, right? And so that I was just at Lansing Brewing Company a couple days ago, and there was coloring pages from the coloring book that were colored in on the walls of LBC by their merch store. And I was like, that is amazing, because it must have been 5 years now that we produced that. And so that's still available on our website as a free download. So speaking of our website, we had the good fortune and pleasure working with Jen. I don't know, was that prior to the pandemic? So it was
in before times. When
it must have been 2018 going to 2019.
That sounds right.
Yeah. We started a conversation about we needed to completely revamp our website. And we needed to bring it into the 21st century. And Jen's team was fantastic at giving us the vision for what it could look like, and also making it like very high utility, right? So like the target audience is young, emerging professionals who don't have the attention span necessarily to spend a lot of time sifting through text. So it needs to be bright, colorful, photography driven, aesthetically appealing, but then also, can I filter by community and figure out, does Mason have cool stuff that matters to me?
Yep.
Or like, what's Old Town versus Rio Town? And so over a year's time, and with some investment with the MSU Federal Credit Union, which is continued to be just a pivotal corporate supporter, employer partner of ours, and some other monies at the grant level kind of locally here, we were able to reinvest and pull off an incredible new website that Redhead helped us create. And so that was, again, I guess 6 years ago now. And like the newest kind of evolution of that was a couple years ago, which I know you'll ask us more questions about. But Samantha and Jen approached us saying, the next level of this is probably an extended reach, right? Like, how does your digital advertising strategies and how do your social media accounts help drive your target audience to this wonderful website and increase the utility of it, and really do what we want to do collectively, which is get more young adults to consider living and working here or moving here. And so that was it 2 years ago now?
It's been about 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, that the both of you came to us and with this idea, and we were thrilled because, again, 501's been volunteer driven with a couple of very part-time staff, in quotation marks, that have been pulling this together over a number of years. And so we just didn't have the bandwidth to execute and lead something like that. So thank goodness Jen and Samantha approached us a couple of years ago now with that idea. And it turned into this really wonderful Be Our Neighbor talent campaign that is communicating locally to our internal audience about the wonderful things that we have here in our own backyard, and also to people as close as, Indiana or Chicago, but as potentially as far away as the other coastal communities of the United States, about why Lansing's on the map and a cool place to think about living and working in.
Wonderful. All right. Well, it's been the Chris Sells show so far.
Yeah.
So I want to spin it around to the ladies here. But before we do, I want to give a tip of the cap to our friends at Wagoner Financial. Are you ready to make smart financial decisions? Wagoner Financial offers proven processes for financial transformation, empowering individuals at all stages, whether you're just starting out, nearing retirement, or anywhere in between. Stop feeling unsure about your financial path. Wagoner Financial can help you undergo a financial transformation. So schedule a consultation today to discuss your individual needs and discover how they can guide you by visiting wagoner-financial.com or call them at 517-853-3367. So Jen, your name's been brought up a number of times in this conversation. Talk a little bit about Redhead Creative Consultancy and how you got connected with Chris and started putting this campaign together.
Well, sure. I'll start out. It's all Samantha's fault. That's just the premise.
That's why I'm saving her for last.
Right. Redhead Creative Consultancy. We do brand development, brand campaigns, and brand strategy. And I think Samantha connected us, and that's sort of how we did the matchmaking to start working on the website early. We care deeply about this town. Mm-hmm. Most of our work is in the world of people and prosperity and place. And it was very clear to us that Lansing 501 is filling a gap that we had in our community when it comes to articulating what we have to offer, building spaces, talking about it, and the most important, it would be the talent attraction. And I want to see our community grow. I see all of the benefits of the things that 501 is doing. And as Samantha and I had been talking about what we need for our community and how we can help our community grow, we realized, the place for that is 501. And so we hatched this scheme of doing some
maybe over champagne. I think it was actually text, but usually champagne is what gives us our good ideas.
And we're like, where this should live is 501. So that's where this all started, I suppose.
Okay. Got it. And so Samantha, talk a little bit about 100 Place and what you're up to these days. I know you've had a long career in other avenues, but it's a reasonably new endeavor. Talk about it and then how you got really motivated to do this.
Yeah, this was Chris was talking a little bit about the pandemic. When the pandemic started, I was deputy mayor in Lansing, working for Mayor Shore, who's been my friend for 20 years. And when everything ground to a halt, I was like, I kind of like this pace. It's a lot less, exhausting, and decided to hang my own shingle and do my own consulting work. And it's really largely community and economic development based. And that's what my background has been, either working with or for cities.
Yep.
And so it's been really wonderful to be able to figure out what my path looks like. I live downtown here. I love this community. And so this project has been just a labor of love and just really, I was thinking about this on the way here. I'm almost kind of obsessed with Lansing in the best possible way. I think we're so cool and so interesting. When I say Lansing, I mean East Lansing and St. John's and DeWitt. I mean this whole region.
Yep.
We have so many great things, and we're like Midwest humble and nice, right? We're like, or you hear people say this all the time, there's nothing to do here. There's tons of stuff to do here. And so really coming together with Jen and Chris and thinking about how do we market this community? How do we work together to celebrate it, not just outside the region, but to the people who have decided to move here? You and I are both Michigan, transplants, and we've moved here for a reason, and we're still here for a reason. And there are lots of us. And so thinking about how do we encourage people to come here? And so, my consulting business has sort of taken a lot of different turns, but it has ended up in this place where it's how can we celebrate Lansing and encourage other people to see what we see and come join us.
Right. Well, it's competitive, right? I mean, totally. When people are, sitting as juniors and seniors in college and trying to figure out where they want to go, a lot of people fly the coop, and I know there's been a lot of energy around trying to keep local graduates here. And I would argue that that's going to be hard to do. I mean, you can certainly create a value proposition, try to get people to stay here. In my opinion, the opportunity is to get the junior or senior that's sitting at the University of Cincinnati or in Dayton or in, Arkansas State or wherever to say, where do I want to go next? Maybe it is Detroit, maybe it is Grand Rapids, maybe it is Lansing, Michigan. We need to figure out a way to get those people, because that door needs to swing both ways. Mm-hmm. We can't have people just going, because young adults are going to say, I want to break free and go do my own thing. And then they boomerang back around like we tend to get them when they're late 20s with a kid and they want to be closer to family. They move back towards home. But we need to get the people from other places to kind of come here too. So that's just my own little observation and thoughts on that. But what's the value proposition? If I could take the Be Our Neighbor message, first of all, maybe someone tell me a little bit about what the Be Our Neighbor is. It's a video, but kind of explain it to us, and then kind of what is the message?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. It's critical that we get inbound travel and inbound residency. And Be Our Neighbor is systematically talking about the great things that the Lansing community has to offer while inviting others to come be our neighbor and stay here. And it's an interesting campaign because it just talks about the livability and opportunity that exists here in our community. And our job is to put that in front of eyeballs, ideally eyeballs outside of our market. So when they are looking for their next place, Lansing is at least in the running. Right. And the beautiful thing about our town is people do a great job of marketing themselves and marketing what it is they have to offer. Once we get someone looking at the Lansing area, it's a very easy sell. It's a very easy decision to live in a market that is big enough to have all the exciting things you need, small enough to build a real community, affordable, strategically, geographically smart.
Yep.
And it only works, though, if people know that we exist, and that's the key. So Be Our Neighbor is specifically and was specifically born for us to talk to people outside of the donut. We like to talk about the CVB, the Choose Lansing. They have sort of a 90-minute radius to a 4-hour radius, give or take, where they're marketing to. This marketing happens outside of that space to people who could move here. We like to joke about Muncie, Indiana. What's in Muncie, Indiana?
Ball State, and that's probably it.
Yes, and wouldn't a Ball State graduate have more fun in Lansing
totally
if we're on their list? So exactly the angle that you were thinking.
But we have to be on the list, right? And part of our thing was we were not on anyone's radar, right? When people think about Michigan, they think Detroit or they think Grand Rapids, Traverse City more
increasingly,
and like we're a great community. We need to be on people's radar, and how can we do that? And that's really what this focuses.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So how do you decide where to put this, right? So it's a sizzle reel, right? How long is this campaign?
So the video is part of the larger campaign, right? There is the video, but then there are lots of other campaign assets and things. And Jen and her team built those, and they're brilliant and amazing. But
yeah, we have a 15-second reel. We have a 30-second reel. We have a couple of verticals that are short. And we have looked at a couple of particular markets. In the Chicago area, there's a very large percentage of Spartans that have landed there, and they are an easy market to bring back, like you talked about, when they're looking for their first home. They want to have grandma around when they're having children, that kind of thing. And markets such as Muncie or similar markets that have the same types of employers. Slightly smaller means Lansing feels like a big city. And slightly larger means Lansing feels like it has all the amenities, but it's affordable. And so really it's in looking at the demographics of individual spaces, what they have and how we can get an angle at them. The great thing about the campaign is we have so much to promote. We have so many things that we can talk about, whether it's big tent sports or affordable housing or great education or fun things to do on the weekend, that we can tweak that message to anybody in any particular demographic to what they want. If it's dry in Arizona, we can tell them about how we have great water.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we can promote. So it's really looking at each market and where they align and where Lansing is slightly more attractive or incredibly more attractive than where they are now.
Right. Okay. Now, I am not very good at all of this, but I assume that this all requires like an ad buy. Like you need to go out and
yes.
place
if anyone would like
stuff.
To give us $3 million, we'll spend it all on ad buys.
I was just going to ask that question. So how is this funded? I mean, where are you both kind of, how do you guys pay for this stuff?
So it's been funded by employer partners. If you go to lansing501.com/neighbor, you can see the list of wonderful people who and businesses in this community who have invested. And so for a while, Chris mentioned that 501 is employer partner funded.
Right.
And some of these folks are the same. Some of them were new folks who had not contributed to Lansing 501. And now we're sort of bringing those partners together to really talk about the organization in a holistic way to include the campaign.
Right.
But we have a lot of great folks who've just said, yeah, this is really important. We want to be part of it. And so we need more of that. So the initial funding paid for the creative, as Chris mentioned, the website. There's a lot of updates to the website as part of this, creating the ads, things like that. And now we need, a decent amount of sustainable funding to move forward. And so that's an ongoing effort. So we just applied for some grant funding. We're continuing to look at different ways to be creative, but it requires us to raise money, which I weirdly love doing. No one else does, but I'm like, it's so fun.
Shouldn't say that into a microphone. Your phone's going to start ringing.
I know. I'm here to raise money for 501 only.
But but the employers that are giving the money are honestly probably the biggest benefactors of all of this, right? I mean, everyone's clamoring for talent, and if everyone's competing for the same employees, I mean, we need population growth for the region to grow. I mean, I'm an economic developer by trade as well. So, you can celebrate the ribbon cutting of the new coffee shop, but if the population's the same, you're just taking those people from the old coffee shop. And now instead
100%.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden now it's like, okay, well now I have to fill an empty old coffee shop because the shiny new one took over. You're just cannibalizing your own stuff, right? And so, if Auto Owners takes an employee from Farm Bureau, but Farm Bureau takes a person from Delta Dental, and Delta Dental takes a person from Jackson, and they just kind of keep playing,
like that helmet shuffle at the MSU.
Right, exactly.
That thing.
So you need inbound population growth to sustain the businesses and to sustain the employers. And if the employers want to grow, right? I mean, AI can only do so much to keep your workforce numbers low. But so I get it, and I just want to say that out loud so our audience can hear that this is really important for a variety of reasons. I mean, if you want nice things, you need to ante up and try to get more people here. It's a miracle, and I'm grateful that in my time here in Michigan, we've gotten Costco and Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and Chick-fil-A and Starbucks downtown and some things we didn't have when I moved here and arguably complained a little bit about how dusty Lansing was, and it's just not, the fun doesn't hit you over the head and we don't have the cool stuff. But the only way you get and keep those types of name brand kind of retailers, and again, I know we want to support small businesses too, and I just rattled off a bunch of big employers, but at the end of the day, you need a variety of things and energy and momentum and things that people recognize to get them all the way here.
Yeah.
the interesting thing, I love how you're talking about it too, because we know here downtown specifically where we're recording, we have a ton of new apartments coming online in the next 24 or 36 months. And that's a great thing for downtown Lansing, which is a great thing for our entire region. However, if those apartments are just moving people from the DTN apartment down the street, that doesn't do any good.
Right.
So we must promote that inbound in order to raise our standard of living for everyone around here.
Right. Yep.
Well,
Totally
Chris,
agree.
you mentioned when you were talking about the benefit to the employer partners. And I will say, in addition to financial support, our employer partners have been great. I'll use the Board of Water and Light as an example. They've really been like thought partners in figuring out how we can like structure ads in order to target STEM markets and things like that, and helped to really focus on that return on investment for employer partners. And so we also want those conversations as well, right? Like we need funding, but we also, how can this campaign and how can this work directly benefit our employers, and what's the value add for them?
Right. And if you're going to take a look for a home, you need to call my friend Chris Silker at Keller Williams Advantage and Team. They offer the expertise that you're looking for. He's helped clients navigate the complicated world of real estate in mid-Michigan for over 10 years, providing the best information possible at the right time to empower the best decisions. Whether you're a first-time home buyer looking for a local expert to guide you from point A to point B, if you're searching for an income property in the competitive Lansing market, if you're right-sizing your life, or just searching for your dream home, Chris Silker and the Advantage and Team is the name to trust in Greater Lansing real estate. Visit advantageandteam.com or call Chris directly at 517-242-9251 today to find the home of your dreams.
That was a great segue.
Yeah.
Do you like
Well
that?
done.
I'm just sitting here thinking
Skill.
Samantha should talk to them about all the work we're doing. help them sell those houses.
I totally will. Chris, I'll call you based on this.
There we go.
Give me his number after this.
Thank you. It is my second rodeo. So good at this now. But all of that matters, right? And we also need, I mean, again, if we're going to have impound population growth, there's other stuff that needs to be done. And I don't want to go down this segue, but it's, we need power. We need rural broadband. We need great public transportation. We need to fix the damn roads. We need, have a variety of housing stock. I mean, to accommodate, big new employers that are coming into town and this inbound population growth, we need to give them a great experience. The schools need to be prepared. The parks need to be up to snuff and all of that. But again, I think it's that high tides raise all ships, right? So having an increasing tax base and all that kind of stuff makes these things possible. You don't want to have to trim budgets and enjoy the retreating of money that's available to people.
And we think those things happen in tandem, right? Like obviously, no community is perfect. We have things we need to work on in the Lansing region.
Yep.
But while we're working on those things, we continue to celebrate the great things that we have, to continue to advertise to out of market, to continue to promote the community that we have at the same time that we're making it better. And you can't, I'm stealing this line from Jen, but she said, we can't wait until the apartments are built and say, hey, come to downtown Lansing. We have all these apartments.
Now film.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that needs to be happening. And we need to be celebrating and promoting this community alongside the growth that's happening.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And that's, the three-legged stool, right? You need fun things for people to do, and you need people, and you need jobs. And if you have any of those without the other, the stool falls over.
Yep.
Right. So that's great. So Jen, you mentioned this big apartment complex that's going in that broke ground a little while ago, not ribbon cutting, but a groundbreaking ceremony. It's going to be the tallest building in Lansing, taller than the Bogie Tower, if you're familiar with Lansing. But that's just one of many things. There are a lot of entities. You mentioned Choose Lansing. I know Pat Gillespie has been noodling over this, but you got Bob Trezise, you got Tim Damon, and they're all kind of sitting there with their own little cocktail napkins of all the cool things that are already funded and approved and are starting to be built. And they're sharing them with each other and like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about those 4 things, but you also don't have these 2 that are on my list. And so this list is growing. And I know that Julie at Choose Lansing is working to try to...
the author of the list.
Yes, the author, yes. To try to find a place for it to land. Have you participated in any of that? Or are you going to... do you know whether you're going to have that same kind of list of all the things that are coming?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll let Samantha kind of speak to some of the lists that 501's created more recently, but we're absolutely a part of those conversations because I think in a lot of ways we're the lead storyteller. And, like Jen mentioned earlier, alongside the work at Choose Lansing, we want to be getting this message in front of the right people. And so we're always looking for great stories that are happening here in ways that we can communicate them. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, when to that point about storytelling, right? When you're bringing eyes to Lansing, that means everyone else is doing their jobs and doing it well, right? So it means businesses are being attracted here. We have conferences and conventions that Julie and her team do beautifully. And our businesses are supported by organizations like the Chamber, and our schools are great. So to bring eyes here means everyone's doing their job. And so these folks are all of our partners, and we're Julie and I met last week about ways to partner with Choose Lansing. But speaking of lists, we've done a couple of lists, and Jen and her team have been just put in so much work on this. But a couple years ago, we did 517 reasons. So 517, our zip code, or area code, not area code. 517 reasons why our city's a great city. And then most recently, just a few weeks ago, published 517 things we make here. Everything from like large manufacturing, like cars, to hometown power, to soap at Sylvia's Sudsery downtown in Washington. It's a great store if you haven't been there. But like just we make things. And so if you want to thrive here and you make anything, this is a community for you. And we want to celebrate all those cool things we make.
And when you add to that the things that are being made, intellectual property and research and amazing things over at the university and policy being made here at the state capitol. So the cocktail of things that are built in Lansing means when you do decide to locate here, there is a job for you. There is an interesting job for your spouse. There are lots of different things to do. And so there are lists upon lists of all the things that are growing and all the apartments and housing that are being built, lists of the new amenities and new green spaces that are coming along, lists of places where you can work. We have everything anybody could need to build a great life, and they should move here right now.
Well, you said cocktail napkin, you just said cocktail, and I feel like some of our partners are the ones writing things down the cocktail napkins, and we're making and drinking the cocktails. And all of those things are important. They all go together.
So where can people see the finished the finished product easily? And then what's the call to action? Is there a way other than, or how do sponsorships work? And why don't you kind of paint that picture for us?
Yeah, so everything is available on Lansing 501's website. It's fantastic. Again, Jen and her team have done a fantastic job in making it super vibrant. And their social media is fantastic as well. So following 501 on social, checking out the website, you can, if you hit the contact 501, I get those emails as well. And so we love and need more sponsors. And as we're looking at the future of 501 and thinking about the future of the organization, it's really important that we engage more employer partners, that we really listen to them and figure out what our employer partners need and how we can continue to build the campaign and other programs that are representative of what our community is interested in and how we can attract folks.
Right.
I would add one call to action, I would add one other space. You can go to Lansing 501's YouTube channel. We have the 30-second, the 15-second, and some verticals. And I would encourage anybody to use those on your own social media and talk about Lansing. So we definitely want to share those assets. More assets will come as we grow the campaign. But anyone who wants to borrow, use, and promote with those assets to talk about our town, please go do so. Just find them on YouTube.
Positive things. We're all here for a reason, and I know I get it. Sometimes I can be as frustrated as the next person, but think about this community and what makes it great, and lead with those things. Don't lead with there's nothing to do here. Lead with there's so much to do here. I can't even fit it all in. Right.
And these links are great things to share, even if it's a text or an email with friends that you're trying to maybe court back a little closer, or,
be unapologetically aggressive about asking people to come here.
Right.
That's what I do.
Absolutely.
And Lansing501.com?
You bet.
Okay, Lansing501.com. And 501, I love the origins of that, is that there's nothing to do in Lansing after 5.
Yeah.
So you guys picked it up at 501. This is where you go.
Absolutely.
Love it. Anything else to share? I mean, I know I couldn't probably shut you three up if I wanted to.
we do have one. Want to talk about the future of the organization?
Yeah, if time permits.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So a decade in, we're super excited about the new chapter for Lansing 501. And so for a year or two now, we've been thinking about how do we turn this into more of a full-time, sustainable organization that the community deserves and needs. And so super excited to share that Samantha has agreed to become the new CEO for Lansing 501.
Oh, wow.
Starting later this summer, she will be stepping into that role and taking this thing like a rocket ship to all new levels that this community is asking for and deserves. And so we are so thrilled about that. I know she's going to be working with Jen and Redhead's team is going to be working in tandem with her to continue to see the Be Our Neighbor campaign grow as part of the overall work that's happening at Lansing 501. So having someone with Samantha's caliber of strength and skill sets to take this thing into the new chapter is, kind of beyond our wildest dreams in a lot of ways. So really, really excited about that. I don't know if you want to say anything more, but I'm just
awesome. Going to keep being unapologetically aggressive. But also Chris built Lansing 501 from the ground up and is super humble, but has done an amazing job. And so I'm honored to take the baton from him and keep building on this wonderful thing he's built.
Right on. Well, congratulations. That's
Thank
a
you.
big deal. So we look forward to the future of that. It's not going to slow down, I suspect.
Not at all.
I don't do slow.
And she's going to fix everything you did wrong.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And she'll
right.
tell you about it every step.
No, she's too kind for that.
He didn't do anything wrong. Everything's been wonderful.
I also don't think she's going to let him get very far.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not moving. I'm here. So I'm a text away.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, it's been a great conversation. I wish you nothing but the best. We've had Samanth Harkins, we've had Jen Estill, we've had Chris Sell talking about the Be Our Neighbor campaign through the Lansing 501 and with Redhead Creative Consultancy and 100 Place contributing. So appreciate you all being here. It was fantastic talk. Then I'd like to give a final shout out to all of our loyal sponsors. We have Forsberg Real Estate, Wagner Financial, Triterra Environmental, Good Marketing, Keller Williams Advantage and Team, Michigan Rise, and the attorneys at Foster Swift. All fantastic people worth the call. And if you found the show as a one-off, I want to remind you to follow and subscribe to Michigan Reimagined on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. This is Chris Buck signing off from Michigan Reimagined.